I'm extremely happy to inaugurate the webinar held on the occasion of International Museums Day. It's an important occasion, but ironically, very few people outside this webinar must be knowing that we are celebrating the International Museums Day. It is a pity that although we all talk about culture and our heritage, our rich traditions, but there are very few who really take museums as a very serious course of studies. There are very few who make museums as their part of their life. As we all know, this International Museum Day, this year the theme of this International Museum Day is power of museums. And we must understand what are the important aspects related to museums and what is the power of museum, which is very important. And why I am saying is that the power of museum is to achieve sustainability. Museums are strategic partners in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations. As key actors in their local communities, they contribute to a wide variety of goals, which include fostering short-circuit social economy and disseminating scientific information on environmental challenges. The power of innovating or digitization and accessibility. Museums have done tremendous work. They have become innovative playing grounds where new technologies can be developed and applied to everyday life. This is also community building power through education, through collections and the programs. Museums thread a social fabric that is essential in economy building by upholding democratic values and providing lifelong learning opportunities to all. They contribute to shaping an informed and engaged civil society. So these are the important aspects related to the power of the museums. As we all know, the history of museums in India go back to the year 1796, when the first museum was started in the Asiatic Society. After that, we have developed so many museums in India. Museums are being created on separate, on specialized subjects, different aspects. They are also museums related to history in general and heritage conservation. They are in fact important to document day-to-day life, educate on heritage, history and culture. They display our alternative perspectives of history also. And the importance of museum is that they also give you the background of that era, of that period. India, although is rich in its cultural heritage and legacy, still a lot needs to be done as far as the museums are concerned. Because over the years, we have never really given importance to museums, visits to museums. In fact, we could not develop a culture which promotes museums visit in general among the school students, among the parents, among the society by and large. In fact, if you go to a European country or if you meet a European person, his or her first priority when he visits a new place is to visit the museum so that he understands about the culture, the civilization, and then only he moves around in the city or a town area which is a new place for him or her. But unfortunately, in our concept or in our perception, when we visit a new place, museum becomes our last priority. In fact, when there is nothing to see, we try to go to a museum and spend some time. We also see when school trips and visits are being conducted to the museum, how disinterested the teacher is when he or she is taking around the students to a museum, as if they are only observing a formality. The entire focus remains on finishing the task as early as possible, go out in the ground and have food or something like that and enjoy recreation. Of course, there is another problem related to the museum education, that we have not made the museum democratized. We have made it so specific and so special and so selective and so secretive that people normally fear to move inside the museum. If we democratize our museum, if we make them welcoming, if we make them inviting, maybe the perception related to museum will change. I recollect my visit to a museum, state museum in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I saw little kids, maybe around 10 to 12 years, lying on the floor of the museum and trying to recreate the paintings which were there on the wall. I don't see any such scene in India. We have, wherever we have museums, we have people with repulsive reflexes, which discourage you to see the museum rather than invite and encourage to see the museum. We also see that museum professionals, whosoever they are, not really trained and attuned for the latest technological development and advancement. So this is unfortunate that we have not been able to impart education and training as far as the museum is concerned. We do not have enough conservators, we do not have enough curators, we do not have enough designers who can design museums in the latest fashion, latest technology, and which become part and parcel of our day-to-day life. I was surprised for last 2 years when we were witnessing the COVID and we were stuck in the houses. Everybody was worried about when the cinema halls would open, when the malls would open, when the airports would open. But I think there was hardly anyone who bothered about museums, when museums are going to open or when archives are going to open. Nobody was really worried about these. And in fact, there was no hue and cry about the situation, what would have happened to the things in lying in our museums if there was nobody to take care of them during the period of lockdown. So that is the state of affairs, which is very disheartening. And on the International Museums Day, I think it is a time to introspect and look within ourselves and see that what exactly we are giving back to the ancestors who have created such beautiful spaces like museums in India. We also must think about training professionals, that too bright young professionals who would sort of make their career in the field of museum. I know that everybody is so glamour struck these days. Everybody wants to adopt a profession which gives them proper glamour, name, fame, and of course money. Why should we forget money? But we don't encourage our children to sort of go into the professions which are really there to sort of take care of rich cultural heritage and lineage. I think this is the responsibility of the society by and large, and academia in particular, to sort of encourage youngsters to also take up a profession related to museum. Not only museum, but other parts of the cultural studies like paleography, manuscriptology, iconography. We do not have enough experts in these fields coming up and taking interest. So this is a cause of worry, and we all need to sort of discuss and deliberate how we can develop proper museum professionals in our country to take care of our museums. Not only that, how we can develop modern museums which are at par with any international museum which are there in different parts of the world. And that is very interesting, that when you go to Louvre, you are ready to pay any price to visit that museum. But when you come to India, and when you visit India, any museum, you crave for even paying 5, 10, 25 rupees for a ticket to a museum. That is the kind of mentality and psychology. We need to change this mentality and psychology. If you are in a position to pay in euros and dollars abroad, you should also be ready to pay in rupees in India, at least for a cause which is taking care of the heritage. This is an important occasion. We have a team of experts, eminent experts. Some are very bright young professionals here gathered on this panel. Some are very experienced, highly experienced persons. who are there related to history and conservation. I am hopeful that this discussion would be a fruitful discussion, and we would definitely try to draw some action plan related to museums in India, and maybe we should be in a position to give some constructive suggestions, especially when my friend Dr. Virendra Bangru did a comprehensive study on the status of museums in India. I hope we would be in a position to publish that soon. We really saw pathetic scenes. More than 75% of the museums were understaffed, ill-equipped, and badly maintained. That is the situation in India. There are museums who are on the verge of closure of the paucity of proper manpower and resources. If we are a country who claims that they have rich cultural heritage and lineage, it is our responsibility also to see to it that it is properly preserved and properly documented and properly expanded to a larger audience. Uh, Again, I must admit that a lot depends on the education and culture which we imbibe through culture through our educational institutions. I would have been happy if celebration of International Museums Day would not have remained confined only with the Culture Ministry, but Education Ministry should have also celebrated this day, because it is not only the responsibility of the Ministry of Culture alone to take care of the museums, it is the society by and large which takes care of their museums. I thank Dr. Bangru and Dr. Gaur for inviting me for this webinar. I'm sure that the discussions which would take place here would be very fruitful and very exciting. I also welcome all the 50 participants who have joined this webinar, and that shows that how keen interest our youngsters have in the field of museums, and I'm very much thrilled. And I also hope that the discussions and deliberations which take place here would definitely be sent to others for their consideration on a later date. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Namaskar.